We are remembering the life of John F. Kennedy this morning on the 50th anniversary of his assassination. The early 1960s, when Kennedy was president, were a historic time. Many of his speeches live on in history.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
To halt this offensive buildup, a strict quarantine on all offensive military equipment under shipment to Cuba is being initiated.
All free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the words, Ich bin ein Berliner.
The large amount of coverage on this anniversary is bringing President Kennedy's story to a new generation. But how does his life and death connect to American life, politics, and media today? Historian Douglas Brinkley is with us. He's a CBS News contributor and author of the biography Cronkite. Douglas Brinkley, it's good to see you. It is such a sobering day for so many. You know, a day, there are some people you can talk to who remember nothing. There are others that can remember every little detail, and the emotions of loss, nostalgia, fascination. Help us put it in perspective right now. What do you think we should remember most as we sit here today?
Well, John F. Kennedy was a person who loved the Navy, and he was part of that World War II generation. And I think he really believed in public service and duty on our country. And something about his death, the can-doism of America seemed to have gotten squelched a little bit. I mean, here's Kennedy saying, we'll go to the moon. By the end of the decade, we go to the moon. But we get mired after Kennedy with Vietnam. I mean, compared to John F. Kennedy, Johnson and Nixon, Carter, Ford, and the rest didn't have the a charismatic appeal that Kennedy had, didn't have the ability to really move people.
The anniversary in particular, the 50th, when you can really hear from some of the eyewitnesses who were there, I think adds a whole nother layer to this story, does it not?
Without a doubt. I felt that way when I got to meet people for D-Day, the 50th anniversary. I was just stunned to talk to those guys. Well, this has been interesting this week because people that were at Parkland Hospital, people that were pallbearers, people that knew Oswald, we're getting like a uprising of oral histories. And I think it's helpful for Kennedy's studies in general. There's been this much attention given to the 50th.
You know, one of the most compelling memories from that day is the grace and composure of Jackie Kennedy. 34 years old and widowed. You forget how young she was.
And there was never a first lady like her. She brought such grace and style to D.C., promoting of the arts. How iconic her Chanel pink suit now has become. It's one of the great important artifacts almost in American history because it represented the turn from Mamie Eisenhower to Jackie Kennedy, from black and white TV to the emergence of color photos like we have of Kennedy.
And there, the young John saluting his father on that funeral day. What's amazing for historians, I assume, is that there's so much, as you suggested earlier, to learn, especially the interview with Jacqueline Kennedy done by William Manchester, which can't be opened until 2067, which is 54 years.
It's very frustrating. One that Arthur Schlesinger did with her got opened about a year ago, and that's got published, and it's quite interesting to listen to. But there's still a lot closed off of the Kennedy papers. People want more and more. David Nassau just got to do a book on Joe Kennedy that was very good, and that's just brand new. So this will continue to go on, and we're still looking for new documents on the Cuban Missile Crisis in Berlin and the rest.
Why are those documents embargoed, as you would say, until that date? What's there to hide, or why not share that?
I think the family wants to have a bit of time. You know, it's when
that was by Jackie's request.
Yes, indeed. And it took place at the time that there was some dislike of the Manchester biography.
Yes.
And this was in part a response to that.
And remember, the Manchester book's very good. I mean, we're hearing a lot of people recycling stories Manchester came up with. So if people care about this topic, I'd read William Manchester's The Death of a President.
It's interesting that 61% of Americans today still do not believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Where do you stand on that?
that Lee, I believe he did act alone, certainly as the killer. I'm not clear on the motives of Lee Harvey Oswald. I think that could be debated, but the forensic evidence is overwhelming that he did it. The Warren Commission was sloppy and hastily written. It was done very quickly. It was a blue ribbon team of people like John McCloy and Alan Dulles and the rest. But Oswald killed Kennedy. I'm quite confident.
Yeah, I don't think anybody doubts that, but they find it hard to believe. Why don't you think people don't believe that he acted alone? You know, I've heard the phrase, a peasant took down a king. How could that be?
Yeah, I mean, Norman Mailer attacked this pretty hard, and you know, can a misfit and a geek really change the world? And people don't want to believe that. Also, there's some conspiracy theories because was Kennedy hated by the CIA? Was Castro trying to kill him? And it goes on and on, but most of it is bunk.
But that's who assassins are. They're
Yes.
misfits and terribly troubled people.
Look how many school gun shootings we have. These are all the same kind of Oswald figures, just misanthropic losers who want to make the history books. Here we are talking about him.
Yeah, 50 years later. Well, the coverage has certainly been riveting. I know a lot of people cannot get enough. Thank you, Douglas Brinkley.
Thank you.
Good to see you.